Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm really glad you're here tonight. I know how rare it is to actually find a quiet moment in the middle of everything. So, tonight's story is designed to be a bit of an anchor for you. It's a chance to just slow down and listen. If you find yourself coming back to these videos, please do consider subscribing. It really helps a small channel like this grow. But for now, don't worry about any of that. Close your eyes now, settle in, and let your body rest. Before we begin, I want you to feel the weight of your body sinking into the surface beneath you. Imagine that you are not in a room, but lying on a patch of soft, sun-warmed grass, high above a slow-moving river. The air is perfectly still, and it carries the faint, sweet scent of wild lavender and the dry, ancient smell of the earth. Take a long, slow breath in. Hold it for a heartbeat, and as you let it out, imagine you are releasing the entire day. Let your jaw go loose. Let your shoulders soften. Feel a wave of peace, starting at the crown of your head and flowing down to your very toes. You are safe. You are still. And tonight, we are traveling to a land where time is measured in centuries, not minutes. Tonight, I am going to tell you the story of a river, but it is also the story of a stone called Schist. Long before there were empires, before there were maps, the Douro Valley was a place of silent, shifting rock. Imagine the world deep underground, billions of tons of pressure, folding the earth like a heavy cloth. It created a rock that doesn't crumble, but splits into thin silver ribbons, like the layers of an ancient fossil. For millions of years, that stone sat in the total dark. It didn't know the warmth of the sun. It didn't know the coolness of the rain. It just waited. And then the water arrived. The Douro River didn't start as a mighty force. It began as a single drop of rain, then a trickle, finding a tiny crack in the schist. But water is the most patient thing in existence. It has all the time in the world, drop by drop, century by century. The river began to hum against the rock. It carved, it smoothed, it pushed through the layers of schist until a deep, winding canyon began to open up to the sky. Can you hear it? The sound of that first water, echoing against the high grey walls, a soft, constant rhythm, with no one there to hear it, but the stone itself. Eventually, the morning mist began to rise from the water, a thick, white blanket that would hug the curves of the hills, and in the silence of that mist, the first golden eagles began to circle high above, their wings catching the very first rays of light, while the valley floor stayed in the blue shadows. Much later, the humans came. They didn't see an easy life here. They saw slopes so steep, they felt like walls. They saw a sun that turned the schist into a furnace during the day, and the air into a cold, damp mist at night. But they stayed, because they saw that if they could tame the stone, they could create a paradise. When the Romans arrived, 2,000 years ago, they brought a new kind of wisdom. They sat by the river, and they watched. They noticed how the schist held the heat of the sun, radiating it back at night. They saw how the river acted like a giant lung, breathing moisture into the dry air. They realized this was the perfect home for the grapevine, a plant that thrives on struggle. The vine needs to push its roots deep into the cracks of the rock, searching, reaching 10, 20 feet down, just for a single sip of water. That struggle makes the grape strong. It makes the flavor deep and honest. And so, the Romans planted, and they began to change the shape of the world. But the real work, the work that took generations, was the building of the terraces. The hills were too steep to farm. The rain would just wash the soil away into the river. So the people did something impossible. They rebuilt the mountains, stone by stone. Imagine a man standing on a ledge with only the sound of his own breath. He picks up a slab of schist. He feels its weight, its rough, sharp edges. He places it carefully against the earth. Clink, clink, clink. The sound of hammers echoing through the valley, rhythmic, steady. A grandfather would start a wall, and his grandson would finish it, building a giant, hand-carved staircase for the vines to sit upon. They used no cement, no glue, just the weight of the stone holding the stone. Thousands of miles of walls, tracing the curves of the hills, like the wrinkles on the face of a very old friend. As the centuries passed, the valley became a tapestry. In the winter, when the vines were sleeping, the valley didn't go quiet. The people would harvest the oranges and the lemons. Can you smell that? The sharp, clean scent of citrus, cutting through the cold, damp winter air. The orange trees, bright splashes of colour against the grey schist walls. And then there were the olives, ancient trees with twisted silver-green leaves. They would press the olives in the late autumn, the oil, thick and golden, smelling of the earth. By the 1700s, the great wine estates, the quintas, began to rise, whitewashed walls with deep blue tiles. In the harvest time, the air was heavy with the smell of sweet, crushed fruit. The people would gather in the dark stone vats, the lagares. They would link arms, and they would walk, step by step, left, right, the rhythm of their feet on the cold stone. Eventually, the boats would reach the sea. The air would change, turning salty and cool, but the heart of the wine was always back in the hills. If you were there right now, as the sun begins to set, you would see the sky turn a dusty, deep purple. The river below becomes a ribbon of liquid silver, and the schist walls, finally, begin to cool down. You can feel that warmth leaving the stones and rising into the night air, a gentle, thermal breath. The vines are tucking themselves in for the night. The river is flowing toward the ocean, and the valley is holding its breath. Think of those thousands of years, the patience of the water, the strength of the stone, the steady hands of the people. It is a story of things that last, of work that becomes a part of the earth. Let your mind drift down those stone stairs, step by step, lower and lower, toward the water, toward the cool mist, toward the deep, endless silence. The valley is at rest, and you are at rest.